One of the most important things for a bookkeeping business is keeping track of a leads list. This marketing strategy is often overlooked just because, it's not something that people think about. But it's, turned everything around for me. I've started, really tracking everybody who showed even in the slightest of interest. Even if they're asking like, what is your rate? And then I tell them and they don't respond, I put them on that leads list. And then I'm just going to follow up with them every so often. I have like a kind of a system where I kind of work it. So like once I have someone on there, they automatically go on as like a hot lead. Like they're interested, even if they just you're asking about the price or something. I put them on there, and then after I do that, if they're hot, I'll follow up with them. So I'll message them, and we'll talk, and then depending on how far it goes, I'll probably follow up with them the next day or 2 days, depending. Especially if I've already gotten to the point where I'm asking them for QuickBooks access or bank statements, and that's what I'm waiting for. I'll follow up with them, several days in a row. Once they've kind of not responded, if they've just gone cold for a while, you don't give up. You keep at them because they showed interest. They are interested. You just may have to remind them and stuff. So what I'll do is after a couple days of responding to them, I'll stop sending them messages, and then I'll go to weekly, and I'll start messaging them like every week. I'll send them a message, just reminding them, being like, "Hey, just um, reaching out, seeing if you still need bookkeeping services," or I'll even say, "Hey, I'm here for if you need any questions answered, if you're doing your books on your own, just something just to remind them that I'm there." And I'll do that for every week for a few weeks, and then if they still don't respond, then they kind of go cold on me. Then I label them as cold on my spreadsheet because I'm just doing this through Google Sheets, and then I'll just put a little mark that they're cold, and then I go every month. Or I'll message them every month for like 2 to 3 months, and then once I'm to that point, if they don't respond after 2 to 3 months of me doing that, then they're cold. Then I just send them a message, say, "Hey, if you are looking for bookkeeping services in the future, reach out to me. I'm available whenever you need me." I think that you could probably do like an email. If you got their email, you could probably send an email to them every so often after that point. But for currently how I'm handling it, at least, is that I'm no longer going to be reaching out to them after that point. That's just I feel like you know they're not interested if they're not responding at that point. I'm sure that if you continue to reach out to them through email, you might be able to get a response eventually. But for right now, I'm just kind of treating it as it's a wash. I'm not no longer hit them up. A couple points is like you don't, if they say no, I'm not interested, stop messaging them. Don't be that person. Um, that's one thing that I've definitely stuck to, and I think that a lot of people should stick to, unless there's like a pushy sales. I feel like that's the sales you don't want to do. But I'm sure it works. I am not a sales expert. I am learning as I'm going, and this is where I'm at right now. That this might change, in the future. I might, someone might comment on this video and say, "Hey, you're not doing it right," and then I'll change my ways. But currently, this is my setup, what I just went over, and I think it works pretty good. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But is there room for improvement? Always, and that's why I'm tracking it and constantly, reviewing how my processes are going. I'm gonna take this system and I'm going to, implement new systems and try them and see if those work better. If they don't, I'll go back to the old systems. That's kind of what it is. I feel like everyone just needs to, try it for a little bit, try it for like this, try it for like that, and then keep what parts work and get rid of what parts didn't work until they finally have a good leads list system. But I think the non-negotiable here is you have to have a leads list. Don't underestimate the power of a warm lead or a hot lead. Those are invaluable, and if you keep reminding them that you exist, they're going to keep being like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Oh yeah, I need to do that. Because I mean, let's be honest, bookkeeping is not at the forefront of a lot of business owners' minds. They're trying to just generate revenue. Like, they're trying to do their business. If they're a roofer, they're trying to roof. If they're a plumber, they're trying to do plumbing work. They're not trying to think about the nitty gritty numbers like we are as bookkeepers. We're thinking about the numbers constantly, but they're not, and we have to remember that. So just reminding them every now and then, like, hey, tax season's coming up. If you need help, let me know. I got you. Then I think that's a lot better way of handling the situation. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you handle it.